Entrepreneur, Audacity, audacious. Now they're watching.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Entrepreneur Audacity. After some annoying technical difficulties, we have made it through. We are locked and loaded. Today, I am joined with Brandon, and Brandon is doing some incredible work. And you gave the best intro before that we're going to have to remake. So, Brandon, please give us an intro.
Oh, we love it. We love the joys of technology. Thanks for having me on the show. And I'm looking forward to this chat with you. I love what you're doing. And a little bit about me. My name's Brandon Kilty. I am from a background of construction and mining, where I worked in construction and mining for the course of 10 to 11 years. I was on a very high paid job and I was, very dissociated, very dysregulated outside of work. And I felt like my life was sort of running on autonomy, just habits, the work, all of that, just grind. And towards the end of 2023, I had some events happen in my life which sort of shifted my life on another course. And here I am 4 years later with a lot of the patterns that I had in my life, a lot of the limiting beliefs and things that deterred me from visions that I wanted in my life. I've gotten through them and now help men on the other side do that. So yeah, thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, we've been looking forward to this, and I'm so glad that it's finally come to be. I was worried for a second there. I was like, damn it, I'm gonna have to reschedule this. And I'm glad that our two brains collectively were able to figure it out. So no, that's really awesome. And I love to hear that the work you're doing. And yeah, I reached out to you because I just felt this connection when you popped up on my feed on Instagram, and like, how good is the internet that we can just get in touch with people. And then it's like, you're on this journey that I knew was going to complement what I'm working towards. And yeah, thank you for coming on. Tell us a little bit more about, like, you were working in construction. How was the shift of leaving a job that was paying you quite well to go out and venture out by yourself?
Yeah, it was daunting when I first done it. I had a lot of time at that certain point in my life where I went into solitude and I opened up my first book, started reading about things, and then got into online business. So basically, I started in sales. I was in multi-level marketing, so network marketing, and I built a small team up. But a few of the things at the start were, that fear of judgment, that fear of failure, the need to be validated by other people who aren't going to be at your table, when you go and do something that's, beyond what you currently had. And there was a few things that set me back there and held me back. But, the more important thing was diving into the fear and just putting my front foot forward. And it was something that I'd never done before. So once I learnt that, just getting the wheels moving by putting that one step forward and opening up the doors that were ahead of me that were always unlocked. But yeah.
I like that. Opening up the doors that were always unlocked. Talk to me about that, because that's a pretty powerful comment in itself. A lot of the time we think that things are really unachievable, or, I was even talking to my best friend before, and she was telling me about, like some of the beliefs that she was holding and is holding about thinking that she can't actually achieve what she wants to achieve. And, for you to make the comment about the doors are there and they're unlocked, you just had to open them. So yeah, give us a little bit more on that moment of insight, please.
Well, I see it like a room with four walls. If you're forever inside those four walls and you never go and open the door that's there, then you're never going to see what's behind that. And, for so long, I was my own worst enemy. And I talk about this a lot in my content. I'd abandon myself and my word at every turn. I'd say I'm going to do things, but I never put that front foot forward to open that door. And once I did, on the other side of that, it was like everything sort of got momentum. Yeah, my life got momentum. The beliefs began to drop their weight because obviously beliefs are something that's formed from a young age, and we didn't necessarily have an option to what we took on. Yeah. So as I've grown through life and I've had these beliefs, which have deterred me towards fear and towards ego and towards doubt and towards stress and this whole, makeup of things which made up my identity to that point actually stopped me from opening up that first door. And then after that, opening up the next door and the next door and the next door. So I forever found myself in a place where I was constantly in thought paralysis, constantly in monkey mind, you know, negotiating with myself all the time, saying I'm going to do something and never following through, always having this burning desire inside of myself to do something so much greater than what I was doing on a mine site or on a construction site. And this is what is so powerful because once you do just say, fuck it, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm just going to trust, and you open up that first door, it's like the universe just rewards you with certain things along the way. And yeah, the lessons that I've taken away from that are really powerful. You're never going to get everything all at once, but once you open that door, your path is going to be lit, paver by paver, I think, for you to step on down that line. And once you have your awareness around that, it's really powerful because your self-belief expands and you sort of stack that that evidence against your identities to say that you can just keep succeeding and doing new things that are going to benefit you.
100%. You gave me goosebumps when you were saying that. When you do open the door and it is the right path that you are going down, things just work out. And the world has like a funny way that it works with that. And I love hearing you say that because it's really nice, like us women, we can be very, spiritually connected and very in tune with like our emotions and stuff like that. So it's really nice to hear it from like your man's perspective when it's like when you do go into working in alignment with what you're striving for in life, you have that same experience. Whereas like what I've seen and what I've kind of noticed is a lot of the time the guy's like, oh, I need to do this, or I need to start this business, or I need to have this. And it's like, okay, but who are you acting for and what are you acting in alignment to? Because a lot of the time, a business like this venture might be great, but it's actually not aligned in any way, shape, or form with what you want to go into. But they don't realize that, hang on a second, I'm just doing this because of the driver of all of these external factors, and it's not the internal stuff that is making you go towards that. So I'd love to get your thoughts of what advice, or if you've got an example of a time when you've kind of gone down a little bit of a rabbit hole that was in something that was out of alignment of what you're doing and how you course corrected.
I wouldn't say it was out of alignment, but I'd say it was for the wrong reasons. When I first started in network marketing, I built a team. I had a small team, 14 people who were still under me in my network marketing team. And when I first started that, it was purely based around money, purely based around freedom. And my identity, my true core of who I am as a man is not ingrained in any of that, which was something that I found out by having to discover myself through that process. So there was always times throughout that journey where I felt like I was needing to do more and that wasn't for me or whatever, but that was what I had at the time. So I'd push deeper into that, and amazing business model. But at the same time, it felt like something wasn't quite sitting right for me. And that was the fact that whether it's a validation standpoint from me or having like a shadow value of power or something like that, I wanted to be the front man who was helping people on a big basis, So with that came me actually taking the steps through that. So with the company that I was with, building my business and going, okay, sweet, I'm at a crossroads here because this isn't what I want to be doing. What do I want to be doing? And that was what actually led me to what I wanted to do. So I'd never say like, don't do something that isn't for you, because that could be the thing that leads you to the thing that is for you. So I'd say more or less, it's about doing something that has the potential to take you where you need to be. So whether that is based around freedom and time and money and all that sort of stuff, along that pathway, you could shapeshift and, you know, 3 doors might open and you choose the one that leads you to the life that you actually want. I truly believe that once you put the wheels in motion, you can't fuck up what's meant for you. So, you know, if that feels right, that thing feels right and it feels good at the time, follow that, because that's going to take you to the next thing and the next thing. But if you delay and you do nothing, you're just going to stay exactly where you are. So yeah, that's the advice that I'd give. Like, the first thing that you try isn't going to take you, you know, to your dream life, or it could, but along that pathway, you're going to develop the skills, you're going to develop the awareness, you're going to develop, you know, what you actually need to move into the next thing if it does show up, or that could be the thing.
I love that. You can't fuck up what's meant for you. And you're so right. You really can't. Even if you go off track, you go down a rabbit hole, what's meant for you will come back to you. I'm a firm believer in that, whether it's in a business setting with people in your life, like, and I've experienced it so many times, and it's really just a very wholesome way to have peace within yourself and like your journey, because the journey of particularly being an entrepreneur, or, you know, trying to do anything is just like we're going all these different ways, but you know, you trust that that alignment is going to come along and everything will be okay. And I love that you've brought in the trial and error factor of it as well, because, you know, there's a lot of people that would probably be listening to this going like, where do I start? What do I start? And the key thing is to just start, and you might start in something that is completely out of alignment to what you want to do. But, you know, you actually won't figure that out unless you start doing it.
Yeah.
And I've experienced that myself. I was like, cool, I'm going to go on these different business adventures. And then I realized quite quickly that I was like, oh, actually, probably not my thing. And then got into my little niche, which was helping people with confidence, and where the Audacity brand has come from, and this podcast. And, you know, the path has just been paved for me, and I get to connect with the likes of yourself and a lot of other amazing entrepreneurs around the world. So I'd love to hear just, you know, a bit more about your journey as well with stepping into that, and when you found the alignment of the work that you're doing now and what that was like.
Okay, and this is a good question, because this is something that I haven't really touched on with many people at all, the actual shift, the turning point. So obviously for 3 years back in 2023, there was a pinnacle part of my life where I had a lot of tragedy, a lot of people leaving my life. I was pushing a lot of people away. I was on drugs, alcohol, very angry, very dysregulated. And I got in trouble with the police. And basically, I was on some serious assault charges for assaulting 2 police officers, got tasered in my driveway, and I was on top of charges that I already had down south in Melbourne when I was living down there. So yeah, I was in some trouble, and at that point, I realized that something needed to change, because if I was going to act like that when I, say, lost a family member or something like that, I don't know how I would have coped. And basically got off all charges, and I said to myself that I was going to change. So since then, you know, I moved away, opened up my first book. Still remember the book. It was about self-sabotage, The Mountain Is You by Rihanna West. And then,
Great
but not
book.
long after that, I started my business in the online space. So I first started a trading course and got into some stocks and stuff like that with a guy named Andrew Barnett. He's a stock trader in Australia. He's really good. And I was doing that for a couple of months, basically cancelled on the program, and then dove into online business. Then from there, you know, the path hasn't been linear. It's been challenging. I've had to grow a lot of skills in, you know, how I show up, my self-belief, my confidence, my leadership, my ability to talk on camera was never here. You know, content creation, uh, even just like being able to build stuff through apps and all that sort of stuff, sales, marketing, and those skills sort of in high ticket sales, network marketing, led me down the path of having a team, which I looked after. And then from there, I fell in love with the process of coaching men helping men through the exact same blocks that I had back when I was dysregulated, when I was, all my relationships were frayed. My relationship with my dad, I never really had. Any relationship that I got in with a woman would be over within 5 or 6 months, just because of my own doubt within myself, my own self-worth, all of that. And yeah, it was a real turning point in my life. Since then, I realized that one thing needed to change, and that was my emotional capacity to deal with things. And then from there, literally every single aspect of my life has completely shifted. My health, my mindset, my relationship with my father is intact in a time where he's sick. So perfect. My family love me. Like, it's really powerful. I got opportunities coming towards me. Uh, everything's great. And that was because I felt that shift. And it was the first time I'd felt really aware in my life, like honestly, truly aware and not victimizing. So in the past, it'd be a lot of awareness, but it'd be like looking for external things to come and save me. And those times it was like, fuck, I've had enough. What do I need to do from here? And from there, it was just like stepping stone after stepping stone. So that's the power of what, it's taught me to help men with. It's like, you don't have to wait until you're at rock bottom to fix your relationships. You don't have to wait until you're at rock bottom to fix your emotional capacity. You don't have to wait until something bad happens to you to start making additional income, or, helping someone or helping yourself, or, co-regulating your household or whatever. And it's honestly that shift in my life was definitely the turning point. And, going into coaching, this was huge. Something I haven't talked about, I went and done ayahuasca at the start of the year. I done 8 ceremonies. I flew over to Peru. I really wanted to connect with my dad on a deeper level, and I wanted to find out some shit from, my life, whatever. And from there, I learnt some of the most powerful lessons that I've ever learnt in my life. And that was when I came home and I started the Chain Reaction program. So my whole mission was just fully focused on men after that.
That's awesome. That's really powerful. Lot of powerful stuff when you turn the lens inwards. And yeah, I'm just in awe of what you're doing. It's a great mission, and like, yeah, I can feel the awareness and like that level of depth that you have gone to. I've had to go through a lot through my own journey, and I think when you have been at some, like the person who's kind of hit rock bottom with it, and then you come out the other side, you can see it, you can resonate with people's stories. And I think it's beautiful that you had the connection to go back, and build your relationship with your father. One thing that you did mention was the self-sabotage, and I would love to hear, what kind of patterns and things that you noticed as you were going through this transition kept coming up, and if you still have some that show up day to day now. Maybe not day to day, but like.
Definitely. When I started my journey, I realized the level of confidence that I actually had was reliant on substance, reliant on being around a group of men, you know, yelling, screaming, carrying on, sport, whatever it was. That was my identity. So when I shifted away from everything else, I had like this, I don't know, it was like a wall in front of me that I sort of had to break through to do other things with my life, to actually believe in myself, like at a very high level. That was something that I had to break through. So confidence was definitely a massive thing. I actually seen that. And I think the power of actually understanding your own habits and your own limits is really powerful, because once you do and you become aware of that, that's a tool to actually help thousands of people. You didn't get given those limits to break through and not be able to help other people. I truly believe that. So that was, confidence was a huge thing. My ability to listen, that was something that broke through for me when I started this work. I realized how little I'd listen to people, and how much my ego would try and talk to people and, think of a reply before the person was finished speaking, not be present, not be grounded in a conversation or anything like that. So this work has really taught me that. That was huge. What I actually came up in my life was presence and being grounded. It was something that I was like, wow, I'm not, I haven't been there for so long. Like, when was I last present? When did I last have a conversation where I actually cared about what the person was thinking and didn't want to just talk about myself? So stuff like that, you know, leadership was huge for me. Self-led leadership, which came from beliefs, belief structures, which I might have got from past generations or from my environment when I was little. I didn't have the best relationship with my dad. Me and my sister used to fucking argue so much. She'd tell me I was adopted. She'd tell me I was, like, my family didn't love me. I didn't have any friends. All this stuff. Like, that was my whole childhood. I love her now, but we do some, like, barrage on each other with, like, the way we spoke and stuff like that. And you don't realize how much that actually affects your beliefs at a very high level once you actually start doing things with your life which require you to believe in yourself. So yeah, beliefs, confidence, leadership, and probably just presence.
Yeah, I love that. And you brought a really good point up just then about not realizing how much of an impact those little things can have on people. For me, I apply that to no matter who I'm speaking with. I never talk down to someone or say something that could be taken as like a hurtful comment. I fucking love having banter with people. It is like the best thing ever. But there's like that fine line of, having banter and then saying something that actually could impact a person, because people, our brains don't know the difference from thought from fact. So if you're constantly having like banter in a kind of derogatory way, it will feed those beliefs. And if you're doing a lot of work trying to get through them, yet you've got these little things coming back in, reaffirming what you're trying to break, it makes it really, really hard. And, I know probably women don't joke to the same level as men in some things. And I can say that because I know, like, I've got an older brother. So growing up with like my brother and his friends, we were always like, it was a lot harsher with some of the jokes and things that we would have. So I can relate with the sibling rivalry situation. But what would you say, what advice would you give to the men out there that are maybe struggling with those internal beliefs, right? And they've got friends who they have some banter with and stuff, but it might actually be eroding those, their capacity to break those limiting beliefs, or maybe they're not even like aware of it. What would you say, or how would you approach that?
Yeah, I think this is really powerful. I think when you have those limiting beliefs, I think that was a lot of, I know that those limiting beliefs around my own self-worth and stuff like that were the catalyst towards me self-abandoning. And I learned this a while back through an experience. When you self-abandon from who you are as your true core, you move that little bit further away from who you truly are. And the longer that you do that, the longer it takes to come back. Yeah. So any advice that I would give is, this is something that we go through in week 5 and week 6 of my program, which we'll get into at some point, and I'll share a little bit about that. But, setting your standards, what you tolerate within your environment and what you tolerate from yourself, what you put out, auditing your environments. If you're around people who don't uplift you, don't give you the power to grow, they shit on you when you're not there, they talk about their mates, they gossip, all of that sort of stuff, that just adds fuel to the fire of the limits that you already put on yourself. So that's the whole thing with, my program, the Chain Reaction, is that I was coaching men one-on-one, but they'd go back to their circles and they'd feel out of place because not everyone's like growth minded. I think 90% of the industry is women, 10% is men. And that says something huge. So I created that so I can create a brotherhood for men to come and feel welcome with personal development, as well as knock over all the things that are limiting their life so they can go home to their families and have a co-regulated household. If you're around chaos, you're going to create more of that. If you grew up around chaos and you still put yourself around that now, that is just going to throw more fuel in the fire. So any advice would be, step back, take a breath in through the nose, hold it in your stomach, and just go, what's going on in my life? Where am I at right now? What do I need to change? Look at your environments, look at your internal self, where you're currently at, and just, look at where you are and get clear on it.
Mm. Really powerful stuff. Really, really powerful stuff. Because you need to, the point that you made about being around chaos breeds chaos. And it's funny then when you go through this journey of inner transformation and you get to a state of calm and everything around you is like peaceful and you know how to have those healthy boundaries, you'll get tested by things and situations to see like, all right, I'm going to give you a different challenge here. Like, are you going to uphold this new found sense of self? Or are you going to deviate back into, those beliefs? And like, it's a weird way that the world will operate. And I'm sure that you've experienced this as well. And,
I have.
I feel like a lot of your clients will, understand this feeling too, when you're just like, all right, cool, I'm going along, things are good. I'm like, look at me. And then it's just like, you get a bright, shiny object kind of come in, dressed as a challenge, like a challenge, if you will, to see if you're actually ready to uphold that standard. Have you had any moments where that challenge has come in and you've just completely, well, I don't want to say like you've flopped on the challenge, but rather you've probably let your standard maybe slip a little bit out, and then you've had to be like, oh, hang on a second, like you've had to relearn the lesson.
Definitely. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. This is something that actually happened to me at the end of last year. I was in a relationship and it was going unreal, amazing. We connected like an absolute house on fire. And I think I gave too much of myself in that relationship. I let my business drop. Like I didn't have any sales. I didn't have this is when I was in sales. So I didn't have any sales or anything like that for like 2-3 months. My standards dropped in the gym. That dropped in my mindset, then self-doubt, all of that. And it was a full reset after the relationship for about a month. So I think, if we can take a lesson from every single thing that happens from us, be grateful, forgive, and take the lesson, then it actually means something. Yeah. But if we don't do that, then we never take the lessons to make us better. So now I know that I need to protect my energy better. Now I know that like my peace is worth everything, because this vision that I'm creating, this vision that I've created and the mission that I'm on, you got to be careful about who you let in your space, but also it's allowed me to see that I need to work a little bit harder on myself, not to give too much of myself away when the person does come, and just set those boundaries up. So, we're always working. We're never a finished product. Like anyone who's a finished product isn't growing. You know what I mean? So, there's always something that we're going to learn, and definitely that was a massive challenge for me at the end of last year that I had to navigate through probably the first month and a half of this year.
Mm, really good point. Because, yeah, when you are an entrepreneur and you've got your business and stuff cranking, and then you have something come in, and you mentioned that you were having sales, and then your relationship was great, but like your business wasn't turning. Like, how often does that actually happen when you become an entrepreneur, right? Because when you're an entrepreneur, everything's on your shoulders. Like, if you need to make money, like you're the person making money. You're not out there just having a job where you're going there, then going home and you're getting a pay packet. Like, you have to be hustling. And when you divert your focus, but we have these moments that divert our focus. And then after, when you sit back and you reflect and you're like, oh, okay, there was a lesson in that. Like, I actually need to manage my time better and I need to like protect my peace. So what was that like, if you look at the business lens with it, what was it like sitting back and realizing, hang on a second, my relationship was okay, but my business was taking the hit. What was that like to reflect on, and what have you implemented to make sure that that's not going to happen again?
Yeah, it was challenging because I didn't bring on the relationship. It just happened naturally, which like I didn't have anyone, my sights on anyone. I was pretty solitude. I'd just come back from 2 years travel overseas, and I didn't even think of it. It was just like an energetic thing that happened, and it was like, cool, this frequency is pretty cool. I'm going to pursue this, see where it goes. But then I think I definitely wasn't ready. And my mentor actually said to me, bro, be careful, like you're not ready, like rah, rah, rah. He goes, I'm just telling you once. And he didn't tell me again, but had a few conversations after that. But when it all went to sort of shit, but yeah, the lesson that I learned was, I think if you want something bad enough and it burns inside of your soul, then you shouldn't, not shouldn't. I think you should always keep an open heart and allow things to come. But I think you got to be really solid on what that is. Yeah. Like have that plan definite of who that woman is, have the plan definite of how she suits into your life, what life looks like, what your boundaries look like, what you're going to stand for and what you're not going to stand for. And obviously the values sort of side of it as well. But, yeah, there was a big learning curve for me because this is my baby. This is my pride and joy. Like I wake up every single morning and my soul burns. It doesn't feel like I'm ever working. And people like say to me, what do you work so hard? And it's like, no, you don't understand. Like, so yeah, I think protecting that energy. So no one sort of deters your vision, but at the same time, still being present, that was massive for me. Being able to be present with my family, being able to switch off my phone and go for a walk or go to gym, hanging out with my mate and have a steak night or something like that. But, yeah, it taught me presence. It did, because I felt very present with her, but I abandoned my relationship a little bit, my business a little bit.
Mm.
So yeah.
Yeah. It's a beautiful lesson that you can take away from that and to reflect on. And I love that you brought in the comment of the burning fire in your soul being your business. Talk to us a little bit more about that, because, for me, and we were talking about this while we were going through our little tech drama, like my why is making sure no brain goes to waste, and how that fuels what I do. And, like when you work in alignment to your why and your internal driver, it doesn't feel like work. And a lot of the time people start businesses and go into different partnerships or agreements and they don't actually align to like what they want. So how would you, or what advice would you give to people who maybe haven't tapped into that little fire in their soul?
I think it's just about trial and error. I really think it's about trial and error. I think for me, I looked at all the stuff that I'd been through in my life. Yeah. I looked at all the times that I felt like giving up. I looked at the times that people in my life did give up or did, pull the pin, or I did lose people. And I think to myself, all the heartache that I put my parents through, all the times that, I lost control or whatever, all of that was lessons. So I chose to use my personal power out of those lessons to help other people. And I think if you can dive deep into that sort of stuff and see where you're at and build the belief around actually helping people, I think people are going to need it. So if that's the avenue you want to go down, I think it's going to open up way more in the future of pathways for people who have been through, times in their life where they thought they were done, or times in their life where they, felt like a piece of shit or didn't have the best relationships or you can turn that pain into purpose. We're literally in a world where evolution is everything. And if you've been through, times in your life, then you evolve out of them. You can use them as your story, as your personal power. I think it's just putting your front foot forward on something that you really want to do. And that's the problem. A lot of people aren't clear on what they want to do because they've self-abandoned or they're too far away from who they truly are. They actually don't know. They know what their dream car looks like, but they don't know what their dream life looks like. They can't label it. Yeah. So I think number one, the first thing would be to actually find out who you are, find out what your purpose is by finding out who you are, and then you can create a vision around that person. But a lot of people are off with the fairies and, you know, looking for change externally, looking for income externally. All of the above comes when you build the internal identity. So I think that's something I'm huge on. Is the biggest piece of advice towards anything you want is building your identity into a man who can sustain it and actually see what he wants.
Very nicely said. Very nicely said. It's such
Thank
an
you.
important fact. Such an important fact. So people don't give themselves enough time to go through that self-exploration and find it. You know, you made the comment, they know what kind of car they want to drive, but they don't know what kind of life that they want to live. When did you have like a moment of realization that you were, you know, and maybe this is before you started your business or something, right? Potentially. But did you have a moment where you were just kind of like, right, this isn't it. This isn't it. And like when you were reflecting on everything that you'd been through, was there like a pivotal moment that you went through?
Yeah, definitely that night in my driveway when I was tasered by the police. But that was pretty messed up. But there was multiple times throughout my life where I'd hit like a dip in my life, and I'd go, why the fuck me? You know, why does this always happen or whatever? That's a victim mentality. That's a little boy psychology. You know, I think the turning point for me was where I said, fuck this. I'm going inward because that's my only option. You know, you can continue to blame circumstances, blame your habits, blame your addictions, blame, the law, blame the government, blame your missus, anyone. But the problem is we don't have anyone to blame but ourselves. When you take extreme ownership and become extremely aware of who you are and what needs to change, that's when shit will change. But until you do that, I truly believe that you'll keep repeating cycles. And that's exactly what I'm educated in helping people with. It's breaking those cycles and choosing yourself. Yeah. And I feel like there's a lot of fear in the world right now, which is straying people away from who they truly are. And I feel like at our true core, we're embodiment, we're unconditional love, and that's who we are. But until we come back to that, we don't know our direction. We don't know what we want. We're off with fairies chasing all the external stuff.
Yeah, we really are. And we live in a society where, and particularly in the Western cultures, like I've traveled a lot and, you've traveled as well. You'd probably notice this. The Western cultures are very isolated. We lose that sense of community and connection and boundless love that we get from other people. And, we're a social being. We're actually meant to be around people and we're meant to have a place in a community, which is why if you look at human evolution, like we are the way that we are for a reason. And then we have, not to like talk down on technology or anything, I think it's brilliant, but it does create this divide against our traditional wiring, which is for love, which is for connection, a place in society to feel wanted, to feel like we contribute. And, I love the work that you're doing. And before I ask any more questions, I'm sorry, this is burning in my brain. Can I ask, what did it feel like to get tasered?
It's pretty funny. All right, let's get a little bit raw. I got out the divvy band and I kicked the door open and got out in my driveway, and they said, my mate thought they were going to shoot me, and one tasered me from one side, one tasered me from the other, and I dropped like a sack of shit. And I just remember face painting in the gutter out front of my house. And yeah, it was like, volts of electricity running through me. It just like hit me and I just felt it like stun me, and I've just dove straight into the gutter. It was an experience, that's for sure. Especially two of them coming at me.
Yeah.
But it's
not something
It's funny we can look back on things like that and see how they shaped us. Like my mate seriously thought they were going to shoot me that night, but it's funny. It's not funny, but it's, funny.
Oh, look, if you don't laugh, you cry, right?
That's exactly right.
Sometimes you just got to own it. And I love that you've, thank you for sharing and thank you for having the vulnerability to just put it out there more so the audacity just to put it out there because, I talk a lot about my history and getting involved in like drugs and ending up in jail and getting to rehab and everything. And, I'm quite open about it and I get some hate back from some people, but it's also like, man, it makes part of my story. It makes me me. And I'm not going to like hide away or change that because the lessons and the things that I've been able to learn and reflect on from those moments are profound in the work that I do now. And, there's so many people that carry a lot of shame and a lot of guilt and, leaning back into that victim mentality of like, oh, this happened to me. I'm now limited by this. But it's like, hang on a second, actually, no, like you're enhanced by that. That's how I kind of look at things. It's probably,
Definitely.
I don't know if it's like the healthiest way to look at it, but that's how I kind of just like, well, you've got a lesson that you probably wouldn't learn in school, and reality. For me, I always look at things, I'm like, reality is, this is exactly what's happened. You can't change it. Like we can't change the past. We just got to accept it and move forward from it. So, one thing I'd like to know more about from you was how did you break free from that victim mentality? Because that's a big one that people get stuck in. So yeah, I'd love to know more about that.
I think, and just going back on that, I think your story is everything. You know what I mean? You come out the other side with those wounds, with those battles to actually help someone else. That's your personal power right there. I'm not scared to talk about anything because if I don't, then that makes me a fake. You know what I mean? My story is what it is, and I'm going to help people through it, and that's final. No one can take that from you. So, anyone out there, that's you. Be you. Be authentic in a world where people are fucking using AI and all that. The edge is in community and connection. It's still there. And if people relate to your story, they're going to relate to it. If they don't, they're still going to follow you, give you hate, and you're still going to grow through it. So, bang. What was the question again?
Victim mentality. No. Thank you for that. That's really nice. Victim mentality. How did you break free from the victim mentality? Because I know like that's a big one, right? Because a lot of the time we take things and we want to externalize it. I was like, this has happened to me. And it's, you made a comment about extreme ownership. And I don't know if you've read the book.
Yeah. Jocko.
Yeah.
A great book.
Oh, one of the best books. I don't know what it is about. Like I've listened to the audio version and it's just great. It's just like fires me up.
Yeah.
Something about that really like hard hitting, direct approach that the Marine Corps has is just like really, I don't know what it is. But
it's world class. It
is.
They're brutal motherfuckers. They are the epitome of leadership and extreme ownership.
Yeah.
If they don't, they're not victims. They're all in. They're the baddest motherfuckers in the world. Yeah, I love that book. That book is exactly why I said the word extreme ownership. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I wondered if it was.
But
it's
on the side of that victim mentality, I think you get to a point in your life where you just have to look at what's going on. Yeah. I think for a lot of my life, I was the victim around events that happened in my life, around family things, around my relationships, around everything. Yeah. I was the victim. I'd play the victim. I'd say, why me, poor me, fucking where does that get you in life? I think it might have to take you hitting rock bottom. Some people never realize it. Some people literally never realize it. They go through their whole life victimizing on every single thing that happens to them. It is that I don't know how people live like that now that I'm here, but I can't actually speak like that for everyone because I was once there. But I think when you go through things in your life and you do ask yourself that many times, I think the only option is to look inward and go, I'm in control of everything internal, and just going, well, how the fuck do I become in control? and it's take extreme ownership for every single thing that's happened in your life, past and present, so you can create a better future. I truly believe that.
I love that. That's a beautiful answer. Okay, I've got one for you. So I'd imagine that you have a lot of, like you do coaching with men, and I would imagine that you have some business owners that come in for coaching as well. And obviously I know that you've got like the confidentiality and things, but are there any examples of some transformations that you have helped people through for any business owners, and what it was like, and what the lens was like for you coaching them, and then how that's played out for them and their business and how they show up in their business?
Yeah, cool. So I coach a guy in his 50s, and he runs 2 businesses, and he came to me with a lot of self-sabotage and a lot of stuff from when he was a young kid and whatnot that he'd never been able to shake. And I went through some powerful things with him around shadow values and the unconscious values that drive our human behavior. And with that alone, he was be able to have a massive shift in the way that he operates on a day-to-day basis. He's cut down his alcohol intake. He's, on the way to stopping smoking, all of that, because what he realized was that the outputs that he was putting out through drinking alcohol every single night, he was taking that into work. And then that was the input that he was getting back from his workers was shit, So his whole focus for a lot of the program was to, dial into the shadow values that we went over, limit the alcohol intake. And in return, his leadership rose at work. His workers, he was getting more out of his workers, and he was showing up with more clarity. And, he's still got some work to do, but usually when you have something that drives the escape or avoidance or the responsibility, neglect, or something like that, it's usually a value which is in your unconscious. Yeah. It's driving the behavior. So once we can actually dive in there, pull that out and put it into conscious awareness, we can then become aware of it. And once you're aware, you become more aware. And then the more that comes up, the more you see it. And that one thing, is the pattern that usually stems into multiple areas of your life. So it's not that all areas of your life are fucked or ruined. It's that one pattern is creating a disconnect in multiple areas. So being able to dive into that has helped him. And also another guy who I've coached for the last 6 months, he has his business, and there was a period throughout, when was it? April, May, June, where we went hard into, leadership and his emotional control and creating capacity throughout his business and his life. So his content, his partnership with his girlfriend, his time with his son, and then also the business itself. So with that, he was able to scale his business, further than he had before. So creating capacity is huge. There's a lot of men out there who are driving their life on discipline, but discipline, everyone thinks that's the end game. When you got a capacity ceiling and discipline shoots up and hits that, your discipline drops. So creating more capacity in your life for consistency is one of the most powerful things you'll ever do, because discipline will just sustain. So there's some powerful things that I've helped people with.
I love that. Really fucking valuable shit that you're talking about. So because I see it so much. I've seen it in, particularly not we won't go into the women's space, because it happens with women as well, but I see it a lot with men that have these great businesses, but their leadership is just, they lead from that position of authority and I'm the boss, you do as I say kind of thing. And it's they don't have the capacity to actually bring themselves down and really operate from a level of awareness and presence that helps generate team morale. And, when you create that psychological safety with your team and in your business, holy moly, the output that you get from your team and your employees and your clients, everything grows, and you can scale your business so much better when you have more capacity. So I love that. I think it's like really important that
I
people
think that
understand that.
I think that's really cool that you understand that, because I always talk about this and I say, like, a lot of construction bosses, a lot of bosses in high intensity workplaces could do with the work of actually understanding leadership, because your whole infrastructure will scale if you treat people in a way that actually gets better volume out of them or makes them want to come to work into a workplace. It's like everything's just fast, 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 fast. And it's like, I feel like if you slow down and actually appreciate what you have, you will get more out of that. Yeah. So,
Mm,
yeah, I feel like, there's been times when I was on site or I was in a job where I was like, I don't want to work hard. This guy's a cockhead. You know what I mean? But then there's been times where I've actually had a good boss and I'm like, I'd go into bat for this guy. You know
mm.
what I mean? And it's because he had the leadership skills.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
so profound. It's so profound. And I worked in mining for years, and being a young woman in mining and in leadership, leading a team of grown men, like the age of my dad, you know, I had to really, it was challenging. It was
Yeah.
really challenging. But, I realized, and I took on board everything that I'd learned. And, like, I've studied the neuroscience of leadership. So, like, I understood things at the level of capacity and, helping inspire, and just, through trial and error, obviously, as well. But, I got my team to a point that they were just humming. Everyone was humming. They were happy. And I had people, we were going through like a transition of like splitting the teams up and starting a new mine and all this stuff. And I had everyone basically come to me and say, like, hey, I want to go on the team, like wherever you're going, like I want to come with you. And like that was something that really solidified everything that I had done. Because you do, when you're in leadership, you're kind of like, yeah, fuck, I don't know if this is working. Like, we'll see. Because, particularly guys don't always give you the best back in terms of like visible feedback or like verbal feedback or anything. You kind of like, I think the guys are happy. Like, who knows? But then when you hear them say that, or, like you see that the output and you're like, oh, okay, this is great. And then, because I've had leaders that were older men that didn't really understand that, when I was coming from this place of like, no, we focus on creating this dynamic of like harmony and psychological safety with the team. And they're like, fuck that, put them to work. And I'm like, no, that's not how I operate. And that's not how you get the best performance, So it's funny. It was a big learning curve. And I think there's a massive gap. And you see it so many times where like men who have these great businesses, but you can see that they don't have the capacity because their diaries are jam packed. They're always like leaving the office late. They're always on their phone. They're always stressed out. They're overeating. Like they're not exercising. All of these other things are taking a hit. And it's because they haven't learnt that balance of,
Yeah.
hang on a second. There's a different approach that we can take here, and there's a different gap that we can close. And, I love the work that you do. I think it is so freaking important, particularly for more men in this world, to understand that you don't need to be a fearful leader, and you don't need to create this intense feeling with your team, because that's not how you get the best performance from people,
I think, yeah. Well, the way I see leadership is giving someone else permission to succeed or, level up within your ecosystem. I feel like that is the pinnacle. You know what I mean? It's not swearing and yelling and fucking hoo-ha and telling people what to do or whatever, although that's like a part of it. It's guiding people and actually helping them become the better version of themselves. I truly believe that. Yeah, it's I don't know if you know much about resource levels as well. You mentioned like business owners and stuff that you'd seen with capacity and stuff like that, and the 5 resource levels. So basically, whether it's business first, relationship second, family third, sport, and then social settings or whatever, and anything outside of that. So you got a percentage. It might be like 40, 20, 20, 15, 15. Yeah. And anything outside of that is taking away your energy from where you need to actually be putting it. So a lot of men, going out like businesses or whatever, and they're spending 60% of their resources at the pub or out on the weekend, or, all their time in recreation. It's like, that's the problem there with capacity, because you've only got so much capacity for those resources. And if you're putting it towards something that's outside of that, then you're spreading threats so thin.
Mm. And it goes back to, what we were talking about earlier, when what's the life that you want to live? You know what car you want to own, but you don't know what life that you want to live. And a lot of the times, like, you have people that are like, oh, I want to have a relationship, I want to have a family. But it's like, okay, but you spend 60% of your time in your business, the other 35% like out socializing, partying, and then you've got 5% in everything else. And if that's how you're, if you're only allocating 5% between everything else and trying to have a relationship in that, that's not gonna, like, that can't be your reality, because your capacity is reached. You don't have the resources to allocate to that.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
So what would you say to people who might be like struggling to understand how to balance that?
Figure out what you want. Audit what doesn't make sense within your plan, within where you want to go. And I think a lot of people, this is the thing, it comes back to identity as well, because a lot of people know what they want, or they see the end goal, but they think it's too hard to get there. So with that, all the defense mechanisms and validation and people pleasing and all that gets in the way before they've even taken a step forward into what they truly want. It took up a lot of my life was being validated by people who aren't going to be there for my kids, or aren't going to be there at my wedding, or whatever it is. We spend so much time with people who don't even see the vision in us. And then we wonder why we've got nothing left to actually go for what we want.
Hmm.
And it is, it's a lot of the time it comes down to, 7 different beliefs. One is not being safe. One is not feeling bad about something. One is that you can't trust, your worthlessness, you're not lovable. And literally there's 7 core beliefs that people live by. And that's why they go and seek validation and all of these sort of things, is to get the need met. So you're abandoning yourself in that process to go and get a need met, which is outside of the core needs that you need.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of the time, as you say, it's being met by someone else who isn't going to be at your wedding, who isn't going to have a place in your life, who doesn't even support your business. Like, how many times are we performing for people who don't give a fuck about what we're doing, what we're striving for? They don't even like a post. They don't share anything. Not that like it's an obligation, but like, you meet people and they're like your biggest fans, and you don't even know these people, but then people that have known you for 20 plus years are like, we're here for it. No,
Man,
you're not.
it's crazy. It is crazy. And I still can't wrap my head around it. The only thing that I can wrap my head around is that, when you grow, you've left that frequency. Yeah. So they don't have to, they might not be thinking bad about you or anything like that. It's just they're not on your wavelength. You enter a new frequency, new people come, more people come. Yeah. It's not that they hate you or anything like that. It's just that they don't understand what you're doing. And it took me a while to realize that. Like, I don't see any of my old mates in the like section on my posts. I see hundreds of other people I don't know.
Yeah.
I see people in my inbox every day telling me how amazing I am and how I've helped them get sober, how I've helped them change their life, how I've helped them shift their relationship dynamic. Never, ever seen a mate in there.
Mm.
Yeah. I have like four of my best mates. I protect my energy more than ever because of that exact thing. You outsource your energy. Someone comes up to you and talks about your business or whatever. Oh, how's your little business going or whatever? They don't want to know.
Mm.
They want to know so they can go back to their little gossip circles. That's all.
Mm.
So I think when you go to that frequency, you have to really protect your energy. And that
Yeah.
means,
And it's hard.
getting a smaller circle. And a lot of people can't do that because they feel lonely. There's being alone and there's loneliness. One is solitude and being comfortable with yourself. One is needing everything external from yourself.
Mhm. Have you ever heard of the chasm of loneliness?
I haven't. Enlighten me.
So it's essentially, it's in a book. I'm not too sure which book it is because I haven't actually read it, but I was talking to a friend who enlightened me on it, and I was like, fucking amazing. But the chasm of loneliness. So when you know, to get to a new spot, you've got to jump away from your old spot, right? And imagine you're in a chasm. Like, you're on a ledge here, you need to get to here. You're going to have to take this jump, and you've got to do that shit by yourself. So you're going to jump over this chasm of loneliness to get to the other side where you actually meet your people. And that transition of getting from point A to point B is fucking terrifying. There is no way to put it lightly that it is a nice, fun journey because, if you're not someone who's used to being by yourself and you're not good at being alone and comfortable, it's terrifying. And then, it's hard also saying goodbye to friends and people that you thought were going to be in your life forever, but you're growing. And if you're growing at a rate that is exceeding everyone else, like, you have to jump, you have to make that leap, but you got to do it by yourself.
It's scary.
Yep.
It's scary. I think
Yep.
sitting with that and doing that is one of the most powerful things you'll do to timeline hop in your life and bring the things that you actually want. Whether that happens in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you got to trust that it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I still have times in my life where I'm like, fuck, I've really taken the leap here. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But it's with full trust that things are going to work out. Things are going to, happen. And you do. When you become aware, you see the little things that are shaping up for you. Exposure, new opportunities, clients, testimonials. It's like, this is the work. This is happening. And all it takes is one thing to shift it in a massive, massive direction. And that little leap that you're talking about was completely worth it and your whole life's changed.
Yeah. And upgrading your circle, best thing that you can do if you're going to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Best thing that you can do, because you cannot, don't get me wrong, there's people in my life that will always be in my life. They will have a place. They bring something into my life that I don't get from anyone else. Doesn't have to be a business thing. It's a connection thing. So there are people that will be there with you throughout your whole journey, right? But then there's people that are just like, they're with you for a season and you just got to let them go when it's time to let them go, because if you want to achieve great things and you want to change the world and you want to have these big audacious goals, talking about it, like what we were talking about, our why and our visions and stuff before we hit record. I know that I've tried to have those conversations with people who just like, the fuck are you talking about?
Oh, I fucking love that. I love that. Sometimes I think I'm an alien.
Yeah. Yeah.
Literally. I have conversations and I'll be like in the car with my dad and I'll start talking about something and I'll just go, he doesn't give a fuck. Or like, I'll like, this is what I mean. Like, I'll be talking to someone at the gym and I'll just end up with a deep conversation because that's what I do. And it's like, did I just like wig that guy out or something? Like, it's the conversation's different.
Yeah.
So,
It's funny because, like, I don't know if you get this, but you've watched the eyes glaze over when you've lost someone. The eyes are just like, and they're gone.
But it's funny because I was saying this not too long ago. It's like, put me in a room of people who are striving higher than me, bigger than me, whatever. Put me on I literally believe, put me on a stage in front of 400, 500 people and I'll speak as well as I ever have. Like, I just feel like those rooms invite me to my true potential. and
Mm.
it's only a matter of time until that happens. So yeah, upgrading your circle and knowing the rooms that you can speak in is so powerful.
Yeah. It fucking is. It's so energizing. And I feel so privileged being able to do this podcast and having the likes of yourself, believe in the mission so much that you just come on, you just get involved in it. And it's funny because if it's not on the show, like on the recording or like when we're debriefing after, but every single entrepreneur I have interviewed has said the same thing. It's like you do feel like an alien and you do feel like you're fucking crazy. But then there's this wholesome feeling when it's like, hang on a second, you're crazy just like me. And it's nice. It brings you that peace because you're like, oh, okay. This feeling of, like, because you say that to someone like, oh, I'd feel comfortable speaking in front of 500 people. You say that to people, they'll be like, what's wrong with you? Why? Whereas I can resonate with that, like I want to change the world and like, fucking, you can't just be out there going, I'm going to do this thing without people being like, she's fucking lost it. Something's going on with that,
Seriously, people
you
will
know?
listen to this and go, "This cunt's lost sorry, I
Yeah,
shouldn't say that.
yeah.
Yeah,
Next thing you know, you have a
this
fucking alfoil hat or
this
some
guy's
shit going
lost the
on.
plot. Like he thinks he's actually going to do that, and it's because I do."
Yeah.
But
Oh my
yeah,
gosh, and how nice is it when you have that conviction, that inner conviction?
yeah, it feels pretty good every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When do you feel like you found yours?
Uh, I don't want to. I don't like. I got to be upfront. So there was the most. I haven't talked about it because I don't like boasting about stuff like this, but it was definitely my ayahuasca experience. I had ceremony 4, and Ed showed me some stuff that knocked my head off. And I don't. Yeah. All right. So ceremony 4, I had 8 ceremonies. Ceremony 4, I had this mad experience where I got absorbed, taken, and a lot of people listening to this won't understand, but that's okay. Everyone has a different experience through plant medicine, and mine was unique. So I got a journal. It's full, like 70 pages, full of all the stuff that happened and whatnot. One day I'll put it out there, but for now I'm just happy growing. But in that point, I was put into it was like a bullet chamber. And in that chamber, it felt like I'd been recycled through 32 years of my life in 3 hours. I felt the pain. I felt the agony. I felt the stress. I felt the doubt, the depression, the anxiety. I was shaking. I was crying. I was throwing up. I was yawning. I was yelling, screaming. And uh, basically, it was taking me through a lot of things, like feelings that I had in my life. And it asked me a question: what do I want in my life? And it showed me plain as day all the material shit, and it kept recycling me through until I answered the question. And it kept showing me this material, cars, and you know, like money and all that sort of stuff, and it didn't mean anything to me. I literally was sitting there in agony. My body hurt. Everything was painful, and I said to myself, "I just want to be happy." And literally, whew, all the armor literally dissolved off me. My whole ego just like dissolved. And I remember the 2 days after that, between ceremonies, I was just like on a fucking high. And I was thinking about getting back to my phone and all this sort of stuff. I had to cut myself out of it because I didn't have my phone for 26 days in the jungle. And I remember when I came home, I literally just went, and this was in a time when my dad was in the hospital. So I came back into a firestorm. I didn't know that he was in hospital. He'd just got made stage 4 terminal. So I came back, and
Sorry to hear that.
what I learned from that journey was presence, being grounded, being relaxed, coming back to myself at any time, because I was like, literally, that is my whole purpose. It's like, come back to yourself, and nothing external will ever take a hold of you. It's like, if you can control what's in here, then all fear and all that just dissolves. Yeah. So, yeah, coming back, I attended to the stuff. I had another, 20 days off my business, everything thrown down when I got back. Spent some time with my dad in hospital, back at home with some family and stuff. And then when the time came, I literally got my laptop out. I built the whole back end system of my chain reaction program. I got my first 10 clients in my first month. They got results. And then from there, I've just been scaling that. And it's literally just been like a fucking infection. So yeah, that was definitely something that just, well, I've only told like 3 people that. So
Now you tell the world. So
yeah,
hooray! No. Thank you for
it's,
sharing.
yeah,
That's
it's
some
good.
powerful stuff. It's really, really powerful. I haven't done ayahuasca, but I've done like DMT and had like a, kind of that same or a similar soul experience when I was going through, like a very healing point in my life, trying to get over like the domestic violence and stuff that I had going on, and that circle of feeling all of your emotions in such a short period. I can understand that. So
It's pretty hectic.
yeah. And then it just, once you, love that, you come back and then it's just like fucking game on. And then, thinking back to what you were saying earlier in the show, when you're in alignment, that path just paves itself,
Yeah,
you know?
I truly believe that. And I think that that experience in itself just cleared a lot for me. And it's even like, even the way I speak and stuff, it's like that's, I just know. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you have this aura about you. It's very humbling. It's very present. So, credit to you because it's a big thing to get to that point. And like, I can feel it. So I know that a lot of people will be striving for that. And that's the best position that you can be in if you're going to help other people. Like, you need to be able to be that and channel that within yourself. Because if you can't, like, how many people do we see that go into business or they're like, I want to be a coach doing this or I want to do this, rah, rah, rah. But it's like, hang on a second, you still have that mask on, you still have that layer, you know?
Yeah. I think, yeah, removing that is one of the most powerful things you can do, and just showing
Mm.
yourself to the world
Yeah.
without any apologies. We're all going to the same place,
Yep.
and you truly like, even the stuff with dad, like you truly only get a certain amount of time here. You either do it right or you do it in thought paralysis or just doubting yourself. No one really cares in the end. Like, people don't care what you done 5 minutes ago, let alone what you're doing with your own life. Everyone's worried about himself.
Mm.
It's as simple as that. It may seem like that, but that's because the world's so accessible right now.
Mm.
Everything's in your face. You feel like everyone's watching you. You feel, yeah, it's just drop that and everything changes, eh? And yeah, thanks for sharing that as well about my presence and just being present, because it was something that for any man out there who listens to this, it was something that I had a big problem with for a long time. So I appreciate that.
Mm. No, it's a massive thing to give credit. You got to give credit where credit's due. That's my whole thing with it. Just pause for 1 second. The door. That's all right. I'll edit that bit out. I was like, no, don't knock now. Okay, cool. Back into it. Yeah, no, you've got to give credit where credit is due. It's, and lead by example. That's something I really love that you're doing because you're just owning it and talking about it and showing vulnerability, which is something that, we have to have people that are able to be the catalyst for others. And that's why that's why I resonated with the work that you're doing. And I've been really excited to do this episode with you because I knew that we were going to have a really good chat about a lot of things. So,
Yeah, it's quite cool that we're on here. Like you said at the
mm,
start, you said things just align and you meet people along the pathway and people show up in your algorithm, and that's the whole thing. You attract your tribe, you attract the people, and you're gonna get hate and stuff with that as well. Like, some of the stuff that I post, the reason that it works is because it's brutal. It's real truths, and it's truths that I felt, I lived. So I might speak that out there, and the people that aren't ready to see that are gonna doubt it and say, who's this fuckwit or whatever. But the people who are ready are gonna go on the best fucking journey of their life. Yeah.
100%. I love that. Okay, I've been waiting to ask you this question because I'm excited for your answer. It's the question I ask all my guests on the show. What does audacity mean for you?
Audacity just means, for me, just getting at it, getting out of your way, and just having the audacity to chase whatever it is you want without any apology. Just completely embody what you say, learn the lessons, and just continue. I just think audaciousness is just so powerful. Like, move out of your own way. Have the audacity to do whatever the fuck you want without apology, especially today. Like, you have to be audacious. Like, people say the world is falling apart and all this sort of stuff. We have the easiest world right now to access whatever the fuck we want for our family. And people are stuck in the limiting fears that circulate. You know, we're in a golden age of opportunity, and people think it's the worst time we've ever lived in. I think have the audacity to get out of your way and make the most of it, which is what your podcast is about. And that's why we're here. So yeah.
Sure is.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's a beautiful answer. I love it. I love it. I thoroughly enjoyed this. This has been really fun.
It's been good.
We could really talk for hours, and we really could. We might have to circle back and do another episode, I reckon.
What's your plans moving forward? That's my
Moving
question
forward.
to you. Yeah.
Well, we're changing the world. So we'll see. There's one of my other guests and I, we're going on a venture, doing a men's mental health section on the podcast as well. So, you know, we're just seeing what happens. Like, I'm audaciously leaning into the opportunity of the podcast and the business and everything that's going for me, which has been really exciting, and just, you know, getting to connect with people like yourself and seeing what business ventures and partnerships and things come up, because, you know, like you say, the world is in need and seems like a big place, but we're in such a good spot for opportunity, and opportunity is everywhere when you look for it and you can see it. And I get really excited about the amount of people that I can help. You know, that's my whole thing. I'm like, if I help people, job done.
Yeah.
Angie's happy. So
I think that's a good way to come from it. That was a powerful lesson that I learned from someone at the end of last year, which was something that I was working on. I think if you can help many people, then that's where peace comes from. Yeah, you can be peaceful with yourself. Do it for the right reasons.
yeah, it's definitely a big one. It's got to be for the right reasons, because if it's not, then it is a slog. Entrepreneurship is a slog. But when you're doing it for the right reasons and in alignment to your why and helping people, all of the hours, because there are many, all of the hours just fade away, you know, and you just get into that state of flow, constant flow. And then, you know, dealing with tech trauma, you're like, man, we'll figure it out. She'll be right. You just kind of like, you just roll with it, you know, like setbacks. It's all good.
It's pretty funny when you look at it that way. I've had a few times where shit's hit the fan with webinars and crazy stuff overseas, where lightning bolts hit a pole and cut the power out at 4 a.m. when I had a webinar back home, and heaps of
Yeah.
stuff. And it's just like, there's chaos then, but once it happens like multiple times, it's like, oh yeah, sweet, just another fuck up.
Yeah. You kind of like, all
We'll
right.
get through it.
It shows you that you can pivot. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just like, see what happens. But I'm very like chill, go with the flow kind of person. Like, I exceed in what I do and I strive for a fucking great level. But when things go tits up, because they do, like for me, I have really good life luck or really shit life luck. So things are all either going super fantastic or super crap. And I'm just learnt to be like, I'm here for the ride. I'll just hold on.
Yeah. I love that.
So, okay, in closing, last question. What is one piece of advice that you would like to leave the listeners with?
I think for anyone who is struggling with presence, with, emotional intelligence, I think forgiving yourself is one of the most important things you can do. And actually taking the lessons from the things that have happened throughout your life, which have got you in that place right now that you're holding shame, guilt, fear, living in ego, and dialing into that. I think one of the most powerful things that I've ever learnt was off a coach of mine, and that's, belief reframing. So when a belief comes across that is disempowering to who you currently are and where you want to go, having the little awareness to just tone it down, actually feel where that's happening in your body and understand the story that that belief's telling you, and ask yourself, is that coming from ego or is that coming from truth? Is that coming from fear or is that coming from love? And then you can invite your intuition back into your life and start making decisions from a more empowered place. I think that's one of the most powerful things that I've ever learnt is, being able to define between your ego and intuition by that simple thing there.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love that. Thank you so much, Brandon. This has been really, really wonderful. Where would you like the listeners go if they want to get in touch with you? Because I'm sure as shit we're going to have a fair few people people who are listening who want to get in touch.
So I actually just started a long form channel on YouTube a couple of weeks ago. So you can go there. That is Brandon Kilty in YouTube. And also my Instagram is where I primarily run my business from. And that is Brandon Kilty Coaching. They're the two platforms that I grow in at the moment.
Yeah,
Got a
perfect.
podcast coming as well. So stay tuned for that.
Yay, exciting.
That's with a female. So we're linking up and we're going all things into the gender wars and masculine, feminine polarities and everything. So we're going to dive into some stuff there.
Keen
I think
for
it's
that.
important and I think it's what the world needs. So
Definitely.
come along for the journey.
For sure. Oh, awesome. Well, thank you. And thank you to our listeners. Obviously, we'll put all the links for everything in the show notes. And yeah, any questions, you're going to get in touch with the show, you know what to do. Brandon, thank you so much for your time. This has been absolutely fucking incredible. I've loved our conversation and I love the work that you're doing. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks so much for reaching out. I appreciate you and I appreciate you having me on the show. See you guys.
Of course. All right. Bye.